Cheers to start, and
Okay.
that way I have a video edit
Okay.
to go on. It makes it easy for me to cut it.
Okay.
Okay. We'll give you an intro.
Okay.
A short intro. So Jamie Dula now.
Yes.
Let's see. You are a UF alum.
Oh yeah. Go Gators.
Go Gators.
Mm-hmm.
And a guidance counselor for a long time.
20 plus.
Now a fun halfway retiree.
Yes.
And a very chaotic, interesting life. And something.
Yeah, never a dull moment. We'll say that.
That's the best way to put it.
I think that is. Yeah.
I think most interesting part that I would like to know is childhood from Ohio.
Yeah.
The worst place on earth.
Terrible. I don't go back.
What was that like? Kind of growing up
in that mess.
Yeah, because you're kind of was it middle of nowhere or was it like small?
Small. So, well, a little bit of both.
Yeah.
So like.
Can't have one without the other, really.
No. So let's see. So I was born in Toledo, but lived in Oregon, which yes is said different than the state because everybody always tries to correct me. So grew up small. Like there was one road to get into town, kind of thing. Like there we had like those little convenience stores more than like if you went to the grocery store kind of thing. From what I remember, I don't really. Yeah. I blocked a lot of my childhood because it was very messy. So I lived with my dad, in this like house that I didn't know at the time, but figured out later in life, like he rented or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And so it was on a farm that had, the house, I had a big garage and then like a little shed where I had rabbits, like a ton of them in this shed. It was very weird.
Oh my rabbits. It's so weird.
Very weird. And I would go out in this shed with the rabbits. And then there was like a tomato field behind us. So I do remember having like tomato fights with my cousins, which is very weird. And then my closest neighbor, I guess, was probably literally like a half a mile down the road.
Okay.
Something like that. And
yeah.
we were in the same grade. His name was John Wagner, which is hysterical that I still remember that.
Yeah.
And so we would ride our bikes like and hang out. And then in third grade, we moved into like the city, which was really not a city, but it was the city.
Yeah.
And I literally lived across the street from my elementary school and could walk, but I remember they wouldn't let us walk because I don't know, some school rules or something. But then I was in like, the big city because the school's across the street. And then my dad met my stepmom and we moved from there to more kind of like, would definitely consider small. It wasn't as like country as where I had been before.
Like Podunk?
No, it wasn't Podunk, but it was small again, not the big city.
Yeah.
And so we lived there until I think I moved there in 6th grade, and then we moved to Florida when I was in. They moved when I was in 8th grade, and I lived with my grandparents until 9th grade, and that's when I moved to Florida.
Yeah. So you had like a year by this with your grandparents?
Like roughly a year.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to move to Florida.
In the middle of the school year?
I went to Florida for like a week or two in middle school. And it was like taking a kid from like a teeny little private school. I wasn't in private school, but just
like
the idea.
School.
Tiny little, everybody knew everybody. Like there was like maybe 2 like classes for each grade level,
Class size, 40 people.
Yeah, tiny.
Yeah.
And then I went to this middle school in Florida that was like, there were gangs, and I saw a kid chase someone down the hallway with a bat to like beat him up. And I mean, it was like mad, crazy. And I was
yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this. Like, I cannot stay here.
Yeah.
So they sent me back to my grandparents, and I was like, thank God, because that place was nuts. Pioneer Middle School, crazy people.
Yeah.
And then so I went back until 9th grade, and then my dad was like, okay, so now you have to come down here and be a normal person.
Yeah.
So
not really.
High school was Florida. It's Florida. High school was a little better than the insane middle school.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then I went back when I graduated high school. And then once when Keely was a baby to introduce her to my grandparents.
Yeah.
And then I haven't been back since.
You know, doesn't sound like a lot to go back to,
No.
anyways.
No.
So,
No.
there.
I'm good.
Yeah. Isn't it home to? You have the pickles, or is it like?
Oh yeah, the Tony Pacos pickles.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's like a thing.
That's the only thing.
That's the only thing worth going for, and now you can order them online. So who cares?
Why would I go there?
Yeah, no, just place an order.
Yeah.
Yeah, no desire to go back there.
Do you think it was easier going in like freshman year that like you got to be there for 2 weeks and like kind of see? Like,
freshman year was rough. Like I remember being like, you gotta be kidding me still.
Is it still like you don't know anyone there? I would assume. I don't know how like cliquey it would be.
It was very cliquey to an extent, but again, it was like going from a small.
The culture shock of it going from nothing
huge
to everything. Shock.
Yes, and like I had never gone to school with anyone who wasn't super white.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I didn't understand like the difference of if you were Cuban or you were Venezuelan or you were Colombian, and I didn't know that that was like such a thing. You know, I didn't know like if you were from certain places, like Jamaicans and Haitians did not like each other. I didn't even know there was a difference at that point. You know, I was young and naive and just had no clue. Yeah, and I was like, what is happening all the time? Because it was just so overwhelming. So it really took until like my sophomore year in high school. I was involved in more, like I played volleyball and stuff. Okay. Which is weird because I'm short, but
you couldn't really get over the net.
No, I didn't do that. I was a setter. Yeah. But you know, I think getting involved in stuff helped, but it really wasn't until my 10th grade year I did like newspaper and that kind of stuff. So that's a little cliquey in itself. Yeah. And that helped.
Were you Fort Lauderdale or were you?
So I was in what's called Davie, which is right outside of Fort Lauderdale. Okay. We were probably about 15 minutes from the beach.
Okay. So near the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah. Very near the bottom. Yeah.
Having the groups probably did help though, like the newspaper and stuff, that like helps. Meeting people. That's probably a good way.
Yeah.
So high school. Let's see. You meet Kevin. Is that?
I met him when I was a senior.
A senior? Was he a junior?
He was a junior.
Yeah, so same thing.
Same thing. Yeah, very similar.
Yeah. So how did y'all meet then? Was it through like dogs or was it?
So Kingsley, who your dog's named after, and I were really, really good friends because when he moved our sophomore. Well, Kingsley and I are the same age. He moved our sophomore year, and we were really good friends. He played football. And I was friends with a lot of the football players, like through, you know, just classes, Kingsley, whatever. And they were really good friends. Okay. And so we just kind of met like through everyone hanging out. Yeah. Like we had a really good group by like my junior and senior year. We had like I would say probably about 15 to 20 of us that there was always something going on with all of us. And so he kind of filtered into that group.
To the people.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. Interesting. Is high school where you kind of developed a love for football? Is that the?
I actually grew up that way. Okay. I think being raised by my dad, which he's a psycho by the way, but that's a whole other story. Yeah. But being raised by him, he had 4 brothers, and so it was kind of like an every weekend thing. Anyway, is what I grew up knowing. So like they were huge Steelers and Raiders fans. So yeah. Weird, but I always kind of like, I think it was like I wanted to be part of things because when you're the only girl in that situation, it's kind of what you know. So I always kind of had that in the family. And then my senior year, when we were like applying to schools and stuff like that, Florida was really, really good. I don't know that really played a role at the moment. But I was really going to go to Ohio State. Like, I was going back.
That's interesting.
That was the end of it. Like, I had grown up wanting to be a Buckeye. I was going back.
I'm so glad you didn't call it the Ohio State.
No, because that's obnoxious.
That's so annoying.
So obnoxious.
Ohio State people are going to hate me, but
it's okay.
It's so
it is
annoying
obnoxious.
Why do you call it that?
Right. It's agreed.
I think that's a sign you shouldn't go. The right choice was made.
So Kara was at UF, and she was like, just before you make a decision, just come hang out for a weekend.
Yeah.
It wasn't football season, it was in February. And she was like, just come up, whatever. So a group of us went up there. And I walked on campus and I was like, I'm going here.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way. And they kept saying like, oh, don't go back to the snow. You don't want to be cold. And I was like, I don't even care about that. It was like just getting on that campus. I was like, nope, this is it. This is where I'm going.
Yeah, the like people there and
it was just a good vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just, I was like, that's where I'm supposed to be.
Just kind of connected.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty fun.
Yeah.
That's cool. I didn't have that experience with Clemson. I mean, Clemson, I walked on our tour and it was just terrible.
Really?
Our tour guide was not fun, and it was like raining, and I was like, this is kind of fun.
Yeah.
Like, this is a lot of walking outside in the rain that you'd have to do. And I was like, I don't know about it.
But it worked out.
It worked out in the end. Yeah, it was. I don't know, I find it interesting that you have to just walk on and be like,
oh yeah, no, I was like,
place.
No, I'm good here. I'll stay.
Yeah. Did you apply anywhere else?
I got, for some reason, I was obsessed with UNC Chapel Hill.
Yeah.
No clue why. I had never been there. Had never been to North Carolina at that point in life.
The baby blue.
There was just something, I was going to go there too. That was my backup, which is weird because now that's such like a hard place to get into.
Yeah.
So I applied to those two. Obviously, I applied to Florida State as my backup, which when I told them no, I did. Back then, you had to like send a card back that said, if you were going or not. So I wrote "Go Gators" all over mine. And then University of Miami, just to see if I could get in. And so that was kind of like I knew I couldn't afford to go there. I mean, it's private and it's so expensive. And I really didn't want to, but it was kind of like, if you live down there, you apply.
Yeah. Wouldn't the U be good at, were they good at football at that time?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't they have
they had been, but they were real scandalous at that point. It was like, that's when they were the criminals.
Well, you had some fun people down there.
Yeah.
You had like Michael Irvin down there.
And crazy people.
You had Ray Lewis go there. You had quite a bit of people. I don't know about the time, but
Kevin and his family used to go to the games all the time,
yeah.
So I had gone with them a couple times, and so I was like, okay, let's apply here too. But
might as well.
Yeah, I knew I wasn't gonna really go.
I think a part of high school that's interesting is you were pretty independent. Very.
Mm-hmm.
So how did that kind of like? Because not only were you figuring out high school, you were figuring out how to like adult at 15 or 16.
Yeah,
whatever.
Really. When my dad got remarried, I was 12. But then when I was 13, they had their first kid together, and then at 16 and 17, they had 2 more kids. So it was almost like they were wrapped into that world.
Yeah.
And I was so not. And he, I had started to notice some of his. I grew up like thinking he was like the greatest person ever. You know what I mean? Because that's all I had.
Yeah, as a kid, that's pretty.
Yeah, that's normal. And as I started to get into my teen stuff, I was like, nope,
yeah.
He's not what people think. He's not what I thought, whatever. Mm-hmm. So I had kind of like started to branch away then.
Yeah.
And luckily, like Kevin's family was always really good to me, even from the beginning in high school and whatever. Mm-hmm. So I started to see what was a little bit more normal, kind of. And then, of course, when I'd come home, like I said, there were babies. And I was like, there's no, loved the babies, don't get me wrong, but there was no connection. No,
16-year age difference is
big.
Pretty tough.
Big. And my stepmom was only 12 years older than me. So it was kind of like, she was my friend more than, it was just a weird dynamic.
Then, yeah.
And then, like, I don't know how much Keely's told you from back then, because I don't know how much she really kind of has picked up along the way, but like my graduation party from high school was watched by the FBI because my dad was involved in some crazy stuff. So I think when I started to realize that kind of stuff, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have to kind of break away from this a bit.
Yeah.
So when I went to school, my first year he paid, and then by my second year he used school to kind of like control what I was doing, and like was kind of like if you don't do this, then I won't, and I won't. Yeah. So I really remember, like, I was 19, went to the financial aid office, and I was like, I don't know anything about this. I don't know how this works, but I have to be on my own. Like, I have to be, and I remember being real embarrassed and being like, and the poor girl that I talked to was like, it happens. Like, you're not the only one, you know what I mean? And then I was like, cool, what do I have to do?
Yeah.
So I lived my first year in a dorm, and then I lived in my sorority house, which I think helped because it was like that other sense of community at the time. that I needed to kind of figure out how to do all this on my own. Like at least I had a house mom and I had
people around
people.
you that you knew, you like probably count on friends and.
Yeah, and then I really just never went back. Like I never, even when I would go home, most of the time I'd go to Kevin's house. Like they didn't always know when I was down there because it was just too chaotic.
Yeah, probably best to just.
It was better. Yeah.
What was your freshman year like, and then also in sorority kind of? How'd that like did you decide going in that you wanted to do Rush or no?
My freshman year getting there, we went. The roommate that I had initially, we got in for fall, and I remember changing it at like April, May. I remember like the calling admissions being like, "Can I switch this to summer?" Because I just wanted to get out of my house.
Yeah.
And she was already going in the summer, so we lived together that summer, and then again in the fall. And a girl that I met right at the end of the summer term was like, "Oh, you need to come do this," and I kind of didn't understand that process, didn't really know what it was about, but I was like, okay. So I went and I thought, this is so stupid. Like I remember being like, you gotta be kidding me. Like these people are gonna judge everything you do, like your hair, your clothes. I was like, this is a joke. Like I cannot. So I did like I think the first 3 days. And I remember like, it declines, like who wants you to come back to their house or who, and I was like, screw these people, I'm not doing this, and you're going to tell me you don't want me, like kind of thing. So I quit. And I was like, nah, no thanks.
Yeah.
And then 3 houses call me back and were like, hey, we noticed you didn't come on day 4 and 5. Like what happened? So I was like, this is stupid. I'm not doing this. And they're like, well, just come to dinner. And I was like, okay, cool, free food. Like, when you're in college, I'll take that.
Yeah.
And then when I went into my house, they were so like, we know this process sucks. Like, they were very chill about it and very much like, there was no type there. Like, certain houses had like that, oh, everybody had to be like rich and blonde and cute. They weren't like that. Like, they were very diverse. And I was like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how I ended up with them.
What was the sorority?
Alpha Chi Omega.
Okay.
I know it's different everywhere, so yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we didn't
Clemson,
have
I think Clemson does.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was wrong.
Only because the only reason I know is because Keely wanted something about being a legacy if it would have mattered.
I think so.
But I had resigned my senior year, so I wasn't like she's technically a legacy, but at the same time she's not.
Yeah. Halfway.
That's true. It's like weird that you have to resign from that. But
yeah. You want to talk about anything fun in the story? Like, because I'd imagine you had some
crazy.
Fun stories with the
Kara.
story itself, also and also Kara.
So, I was definitely in college for the good time. Like, I didn't know what I didn't know at that point because, keep in mind, like, you throw a kid in college who really doesn't have any kind of parent involvement. Nobody knew what I was doing. No one knew really what my major was. I didn't really know what my major was.
Yeah.
I was just there I know I'm supposed to be here, and I got to figure something out. But I'm going to just be here for the good time while I'm at it. Because at that point,
why not?
Football season was the Steve Spurrier years where everybody was like, we were crazy good and so nuts, and campus was crazy. The people I hung out with were pretty crazy. So my sorority wasn't too wild. Like I remember, like dumb stuff. In Gainesville, there's this wall that down one of the streets that everybody kind of goes and paints. And so like we had painted at that time. So, it was like we were so cool because our names were on this wall and those kind of boring things. But Kara was my more wild side.
Yeah.
So it was like I would go to my sorority and there was this like structured, events and dinners and meetings and whatever, go to class. I will say I did that. Like I never missed class. Like I was very determined to get a degree.
Show up and get there.
Whatever I was doing it.
Yeah.
But then I'd go to Kara and that was like the wild party.
Like fun time.
Yeah. She was the one who like rang. One year I lived in a dorm, middle of the night, came to my dorm with like boots on her hands because someone had left her in the bar, and I was like, why do you have boots on your hands? She's like, what if I had to fight in the street? I'm like, but what about your feet? Like, so she was more the, if I was going to have a good time, it was to hang out with them.
Yeah.
And the sorority was more pretty calm, I would say. Ironically, 3 of my sorority sisters and I came up to South Carolina for the South Carolina Florida game.
Yeah.
I think either my sophomore or junior year. Had the best time at the University of South Carolina. One of the girls had grown up in South Carolina, so she knew people.
Okay, yeah.
And we went to like fraternity parties there, had the best time, and we were on ESPN, which was like super exciting.
Yeah.
So we were right in the end zone, and we were the only Gators in the whole South Carolina area, and we had so much fun. And I think that's why with my kids too, I was so like, you have to go somewhere fun like that. Like you just you have to balance the work, obviously, but that end of it, yes, like it was just so amazing. Like I just remember always having the best time in the fall, like always.
Yeah, I would agree. The fall time is just kind of unmatched
for
like
anything,
especially when you're like walking on campus like on the Friday and there's kind of like a buzz in the air.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, can't wait for Saturday morning to come around. Yeah, there's
an
really
energy.
nothing like it.
And you can't explain it until you're in it.
Yeah.
And so that was always a great time.
Especially when you start, well, in Florida you don't, but like you start getting like a crisp in the air. And there's like the leaves falling, and it's like, all right, can't wait for this weekend.
Like here we go.
It's like on Monday you're just looking forward to like Thursday. You get to Thursday and it's like, all right, I can definitely get through Friday.
Yep. Just to get to Saturday.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a good time. Yeah. So let's see. You hang out with them. You go through kind of your. When did you finally like pick something that you're like, this is what I want to?
Oh, not till really Keely was born. So college wise, I've always liked the idea of helping people, and like I was always the one if people had issues, like they would come talk to me.
Yeah.
So I knew I wanted something in that. But I was like, oh, I'll be a psychologist. Until they told me I had to take 3 statistics classes, and I was like, how about no?
Yeah.
Like, give me something else. And then, like I said, my dad was in a lot of trouble, and there was always stuff going on.
Yeah.
So somehow I became a criminal justice major, and actually thrived really well in that.
Yeah.
Didn't know what the hell I was going to do with it, because I had an inkling to go to law school, but never like a desire to go to law school.
Like someone else.
Yeah, kind of just like. And then it was like college ended, and I just remember being like, okay, now what? Like no one prepares you for the now what, you know? And I graduated early, which was stupid, and I totally never advocate for that. So Kevin and I moved back to South Florida, and I was like, okay, so I have this piece of paper, and what do I do with it?
Yeah.
And there was no, my fault, but I didn't know at the time, like, there were resources at Florida that I could have gone and talked to people about what comes next. But again, when you have no direction, you don't know to do that. So I weirdly became a waitress and bartender at a sports bar, made crap tons of money, so I really liked that.
Yeah.
And then eventually I was like, okay, I guess I need to be a grown up at some point.
Try to figure out something to do.
So I went back to school. My original plan was social work. And I met someone in one of the classes that was like, hey, I work at this mental health facility. Why don't you apply and come there?
Yeah.
Real rough, because obviously leaving bartending and waitressing, take a pay cut.
Yeah.
But I went and I was a intensive case manager for community mental health for people who had been or were involved in the court system. So kind of combined my love of psychology with criminal justice too, because they were all in mental health court. So it was at the state hospital in South Florida, so you can imagine how insane that was.
Well, also like the culture in Florida then, well, you had like the cocaine days of like where you had cocaine, you had completely corrupted officials everywhere.
Yes.
You had Ted Bundy came by there.
Ted Bundy was way before me, but like Danny Rolling was in Gainesville, and he was there a couple years before I got there.
Yeah, so you had serial killers that had been like
not
far away.
No.
Yeah.
It's a crazy place.
So it's very interesting, like Florida, just in itself, and getting down towards like the Miami kind of down there. That'd be an interesting place to be like, oh yeah, let me, do social work. with
locked in here with these people
that are just cracked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I remember being in places, you know, like I said, they were locked facilities, so you have to almost like jails. And I had to go to jails on occasion if they were, but the jail was actually, you felt better than at the state hospital because that's kind of more open. So like you go into a locked unit, but it's open once you're in the unit. You know what I mean? Like there's a community area, there's hallways, the rooms aren't necessarily locked. You just can't get off the unit. Yeah. So that was a little more intimidating to me than a jail because there's a guard right outside the door if I had to meet with them. Yeah. You know, you'd go into like a little meeting room, kind of like you see on TV, and you'd be across from them. Yeah. But there's a guard right outside the door.
Well, so, there's also like a change, I would assume, or something like.
In the jail?
Yeah.
Some were, not always, because most of the time they were, you know, they were sick, honestly. So they would, you know, I had a girl that I had to go visit. She was in trouble because she had stolen a sandwich from like a 7-Eleven. She didn't know, you know what I mean? She was hungry. So in her mind, she had schizophrenia. She's hungry. I'm going to get a sandwich, you know? Sure. So very not violent, you know, but then you go to the locked units and it would be like complete hallucinations, living in a different world. You know, that mentality of the government implanted something in me and they're watching us. And I remember even when we were training, one of my classes was they put a headset on us and you kind of just sat there with your eyes closed and all of a sudden you would hear someone start yelling at you like, get under the table, there's someone coming, and they were like trying to simulate what these people deal like with
every day.
Yeah. So
that's
it was
interesting.
loony.
Yeah.
And then the other part I worked on, I was like trying to teach them independent living. So as independent as they could be. Yeah. Like I would take them to Target and I would take them bowling and we would go to the movies and, you know, things that kind of a little more normalcy. And I remember I was pregnant with Keely when I was there. And I remember like everybody being like, it's probably about time we get you out of here because this is getting, like everyone was worried, you know, like what if these, because they could flip out, you know, and one of the girls that I worked with was driving one to court one day and someone covered up her eyes on I-95 and was flipping out, you know what I mean? And so, there was not much, but it would happen. But I remember they had a baby shower for me. Yeah. And that was very interesting. The gifts and the cards they made and, you know.
Very unique.
Very weird. Yeah. But, you know, so that was fun. I mean, it was definitely a good time and you never knew what to expect every day. But once I had her, it was kind of like, we're done with that. Yeah, we're done with that. So that's kind of when I was home with her. It was like, what can I do? Kind of still in that, but without the danger. Yeah. And then it became a let's be on her schedule, like going forward. And that's kind of where the schools came in. So Kevin's mom was kind of, not pushed it, but she was like, hey, have you ever thought about, you know,
alternative kind of shift towards something that's more
normal,
practical.
Yeah, on a kid's schedule, you'll have the same holidays.
Checks a lot of boxes.
Yeah. So that's how I ended up going back to school for school counseling.
So you went back to school? Like
I had to go back and get a master's.
How long was your master's? Like a year?
It was, for me, it ended up being about 2.5 because I had her. So I didn't go full time all the time. And it's a 60 credit program. So it was like, it ended up taking me about 2.5 just because, you know, just kind of to balance everything. And so when she was 3, that's when I went back to work.
Okay. Where did you go first? Elementary?
Oh, God, no, I'm horrible. They've told me I shouldn't be with kids under 16. No, my first school was, Kevin's mom knew a secretary at a high school. Okay. And so it was kind of like a foot in the door. Yeah. Whatever. So.
And high school still in the like Fort Lauderdale, still like the.
Still, yeah. This was closer. This was in Pembroke Pines, so that's like right on the edge of Miami and the Fort Lauderdale area. So like 2 streets over is Miami.
So still an interesting place to like.
Very.
Start a
career.
I mean, maybe safer than like.
Definitely safer than the locked unit, but.
I wouldn't say it's like.
No.
The safest place.
No. And by that point, Kevin was a cop in the same city, and he would arrest my kids.
Oh, that's super fun.
So that was really sometimes a problem.
Yeah. So I bet you have like gang. Well, you probably have like gang activities.
A little bit of gang, yeah. Yeah. I was very protected, but
yeah. But very like rough.
Very rough. Guns and drugs were like a big.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see that. It doesn't take a lot to believe that.
One time, Kevin called me late at night and was like, "Hey, I have one of your kids," and I was like, "Okay." And he's like, "The first thing he said is your wife's gonna be so mad at me." And so they called me with the kid in the back of the car, and I was like, "You idiot."
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. I love bad kids. Like I always feel like I can help them.
Mm-hmm.
Some I did, some I haven't, but you know.
If not, I feel like nothing else you've left like an lasting impression, or at least something for them that
Yeah, I mean they still.
You can only go so far.
Yeah.
What you can do, but
they still
give
find
it a shot.
Me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Were you immediately like that when you started working? That was just kind of like, I'm gonna be here to just do as much as I can for everyone that comes through.
I think that's always been me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm a fixer in my mind. Like I'm gonna make you better.
Yeah. Did you have any like really rough like stories from the like first year there, or like trying to find the balance of like?
I think the roughest thing my first year was a girl had come. Well, my very first day, I shouldn't say it was rough because I had a 14-year-old come tell me with her dad that she was pregnant, and I was like,
okay,
yeah, cool. What do I do with this? Oh. Like what?
Yeah.
And I was like, it's day one. Like give me 5 minutes. You know? So there was always something. Like there was always a story every day, and later in my career, someone explained us as sponges in the sense that we absorb everyone's pain. So it was like people come and give you their worst, and then it's almost like you band-aid them and send them to someone else, whether it's like more intensive services or whatever it is, just to get them through. And then you don't always know what happens after. So that part took a lot of getting used to being able to let go. And then I'd come home and, Keely was, 3, 4, and I'd have to let it go at the door because I couldn't let that affect her. And I'm not saying that was perfect because I know there were times where it was really hard.
That's really hard to balance for anyone.
Yeah.
Let alone when you're just hearing like terrible stories.
Terrible stories.
Just terrible events all day, and you have to come home.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very hard to just like.
That was very hard.
Did you start to make like a routine walking through the door of like, I'm going to sit here for a moment or nothing?
No. I think I was too young and dumb at the time because I was still so gung-ho. As I got older, there would be times where I was like, hey, until like 8:30 or 9, you just cannot talk to me. Like, unless it's like a real emergency, let me get through like, if I have any messages, if I have any emails, like let me do that while I'm easing into this because I know at any point your day can flip on a dime, and so you could be having like a normal day and then all of a sudden a kid's in crisis or a kid's getting suspended and you have to be part of, or a kid's flipping out, what I mean? And so you never knew what to expect. And so it was like every day you're like, your best laid plans were not always what was going to happen.
No.
Ever.
Yeah. And you were 26?
When I went back, I was 28.
28. So pretty young.
Pretty young.
Still.
Yeah, pretty young.
Yeah. So then, how long did you stay at that?
I stayed at that school for 2 years because then I was having Zach. And so when I had him in the summer as well, I just didn't go back for 2 years. So it was just so we didn't have to put him in full-time daycare as an infant.
Yeah.
So I stayed home with him for 2 years. And I think that was a good time because one thing no one prepares you for really, even though intellectually this happens in schools, no one prepares you for when kids die. And so my second year in the spring, we had a kid who died and no one knew why. He literally went to sleep and did not wake up. Didn't do drugs, didn't, all the things you'd normally kind of think. And his best friend was kind of with me the last like month or two of school where he just couldn't always function through a day. He would just come hang in my office, whatever. And that was, it was very taxing.
Yeah.
But it was almost like if it's taxing for me as an adult, I cannot imagine this kid who found his best friend dead. And so I think it was a good time to kind of take a break because, I mean, at that point I'm pregnant. and dealing with something like that. And I'm like, what? I don't want to think about kids dying. Like, I don't want to, and I'd go home to her and be like, I don't want to think about that, So I think it was a good kind of 2-year break before I went back again. Yeah.
That's so random. That's like the worst thing. That happened recently to a kid around here. I can't remember why, but like, it was just a terrible story. He just died. Yeah. It's just the worst. When you don't know the why, it just makes it even worse.
And I never.
It's already not good to start, but it's just like when you don't know, like, just. It's like.
How can that happen?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when you compound that over 20 years, it's a lot.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, and then you look at your own kids and you're like, just no. Like, I just know.
Yeah. What was it like being a young parent? Like, I'd say young parent still.
I was 25 when I had her.
What was that change? Because it's an interesting idea of how you're independent and can do kind of what you want to a degree. You have Kevin, and it's like, right, there's some compromising there, but it's still a pretty
big shift.
Independent on if I want to just go do something, I can, or we're going to whatever.
Yeah.
The independence is completely
gone,
cut off.
Yeah, totally done.
Yeah.
I think because my family was so chaotic, it was almost like she saved me to an extent, because that gave me my own focus and my own, I'm not going to do what they did kind of thing.
Okay.
Obviously, even saying, I was raised by my dad, clearly that means my mom was not really around. And so I was never going to allow that. For all the things that happened around me or to me, it was like, I'm going to put everything I have into this little creature, because I am not going to let her have any of those things. She's never going to feel like she's on her own and there's nobody to catch her.
Yeah.
So I didn't really mind giving up the independence part of it.
Yeah.
What I didn't know how to deal with, because she was not an easy baby by any means. She was colicky and she was very, 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 very clingy.
Yeah.
In the sense that she would not sleep if she didn't touch somebody. Typically me, but really she just needed a warm body. She was very needy. And so I went, like you said, from doing whatever to this baby who, one, wouldn't sleep, and then always had to be held.
Yeah.
So it was a huge adjustment. But like I said, I think she kind of refocused me and gave me a whole different outlook on life.
Yeah.
That I didn't have what she now could have. And so it let me pour that into her. Which is probably why her and I are still so close. Yeah.
Yeah. It's also just crazy, your 4-year stretch of going from bartending, at hours of the night, and then, you move to crazy the mental hospital. Then now you have a kid. It's quite a transition.
Yeah.
It's quite a difference.
So by the time I had Zach, I think I had been through so much crazy that I was like, I'm good now. And so he was an easy baby.
Well, probably the second time around, you actually, learned.
I learned some things from her. Yeah, for sure.
What to do.
And he was real independent from the rip. He wanted to sleep on his own. Don't bother him, And plus, he basically had 2 moms because Keely was 5.
Yeah.
And was very mom to him. So that was definitely easier.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Did y'all talk about was 25 the age for y'all where it's we want to have a kid then? What was the thought?
I just remember being I really think it stemmed from I didn't have Kevin had this whole network of a family, and I had now not. Yeah. You know what I mean? When I grew up in Ohio, my dad with his family, there were family events and all the kind of things, and even my mom's side, holidays were big and whatever, and all of a sudden it was I left all of that, and yes, I had his family, but I didn't have mine.
Yeah.
And so that's just a really weird feeling where you're very dependent on this one family, and then you've kind of left your others behind.
Yeah.
And so I think that there was an element of I was I need to do this because I needed that, which was pretty selfish in hindsight, you know.
Yeah.
But I think that gave me that opportunity to be like, I'm gonna fix what went wrong there, and now I can do this
Start a new
on my own
path going forward.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd probably be very difficult, especially like holiday times where it's like
it was very hard.
I'm not, I'm not going to Thanksgiving at Meemaw's house or whatever. It's
right.
Like,
no, it was over.
Yeah, it's just like, all right, that's what we're doing for. Yeah.
It was whatever his family was doing.
Yeah. That's.
It was hard at times. I mean, it was great at times because I had them, but it was also really hard because I didn't have my own.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at it and it's just kind of like it's not it's thankful for what you have, but it's also the
I wish I had that.
I wish I had like a something to go back to.
Yeah. And I really just didn't.
Especially just young. I mean.
yeah.
I mean, you're navigating life and figuring it out, and there's not you might talk to Kevin's parents and them for like advice and whatnot, but you don't have.
No, I didn't have my own.
Yeah, and that's just.
That was hard.
Yeah, it's just you only see it through like one
lens. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why I say in some ways she kind of saved me because it gave me that new focus.
Yeah.
And so I knew for Zach, I wanted to have him by 30 because in my mind that was already such a gap between them. I didn't want it to go farther. So it wasn't necessarily the age, it was the gap of them.
Yeah.
Because it was already so big.
Yeah. I would agree. I would say it's kind of hard when it's like, when you go a couple 6 years or more.
Yeah. That's
like
tough.
Like, yeah. Yeah, I would agree.
And they were never at the same stage. So it was like.
You went through diapers one time completely, and now you got to redo it. Now you got to bathe with everything. You got to redo it again.
Middle school, high school, everything.
All the transitions were.
Such a gap.
Yeah, I would. Yeah. I mean, at the same time, it would. I don't know. I mean, it would be easier if you have two. I guess it's diaper training, but at the same time, you have two that you have to do it with.
That's exhausting. Yeah.
Like you have two that you're staying up with all night. I don't know. There's no perfect
there's
solution.
No perfect. I wouldn't change it except for like there was times like I think they are better now, but they were so different because of the gap and because one's a boy, one's a girl that I was like I just want them to be like close.
Yeah.
And it's hard to have that relationship when she's driving and he's out in the woods playing war or whatever. You know what I mean? There was no commonality. So I think the gap had some difficulty, but it also was easy because like you said, I could send her to go get a diaper if I was knee deep in something. You know what I mean? There were things that made it easier and things that made it harder.
Yeah. I mean, there's pluses and minuses to both.
No matter what.
Both sides. Yeah. I'd say that's the interesting part. I think me and Maddie were like, we were close. I don't know. It was like up and down. Like just throughout our whole time. And we're fairly, 15, whatever.
As I say, you guys were
like a year and a half ish around there.
That's a huge. That's very close to.
So it's like, but it's the same thing. Like she was into the things that she was into. There's a lot of fighting early on that you had to deal with. That I probably didn't really.
I didn't have that.
Yeah, and that's probably the closeness. I don't know, but it's also like bonding now. Like we're in the same stages of like figuring out life. Going through events where it's like, all right, you went through school. I don't know, I'm going through school. Like,
right.
I don't know.
It can be good or bad both ways.
Yeah.
Because she kind of moms him. Yeah. She doesn't always love.
Yeah, but that's probably hard, like, from her.
And she's so bossy, as we know, so that makes it hard.
Yes. And also, you've been doing it for so long now, when that's what you've been doing for your life.
Yeah.
Like, I can't really just give it up at this point. Yeah. Yeah, so, I don't know. Figure it out as you go, I guess. So you have Zach, and then you go back to school after you finish master's. And where is that at?
So I stayed home with Zach for 2 years, and I was like room mom and all the things for Keely at school.
Yeah.
And then when he was 2, I went back to work. Weirdly at the high school I graduated from. And then, and I didn't love it. Like, I remember being like, this is weird because, like, my teachers are now my colleagues.
Yeah.
And I went to a fairly uppity kind of high school. Not all, but for the most part, it was very well-to-do school. And I realized very quickly I did not like that. And I think it's because I had such chaos before that I was like, I don't really like these entitled kids. But after 2 years there, South Florida does this thing where they like surplus someone. So if your enrollment goes down and you don't have enough funding to keep everybody, if you're the last one hired, you're the first one out. So they sent me to Plantation High School, and I was like, there's no freaking way. There's no way I'm going to survive at that
Now,
school.
Plantation High School is where?
In Plantation, Florida.
Okay.
So it's more south than I was before, sort of. It's rough. It is a rough area for what I was used to.
Yeah.
So like they have a magnet program so they can bring in wealthier students.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's rough. Like the kids will refer to it as shallow side and deep side. So if you're from the shallow side, you're kind of rough. If you're from deep side, like you're living in the projects kind of thing. I mean, it's rough, straight out of a ghetto, hard. And I remember getting there and being like, oh, hell no. Hell no. Like I came home crying. Like there is no way I can do this. And that shifted so fast. And I ended up, that was without a doubt my favorite school. Absolutely loved. Again, questioned my choices at some point because I didn't know what Cracker Day was. And so like some of the kids came in one day and they were like, Miss, you can't come to school tomorrow. And I was like, what are you talking about? They're like, the white people can't come to school tomorrow if we like you. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll stay home. Good to know. And that's where, I dealt with a lot of really rough situations, whether it was gangs or whatever. And like, even on early release days, our school sat on a corner and they literally lined both sides of the corner with police cars, like completely lined up so the kids couldn't get too crazy. I had moms come on campus chasing their sons with belts and like running after that, and like just crazy things would go on at that school.
Like you wouldn't.
No. Like I remember them coming to get me. This is so wrong, but I remember them coming to get me once, and they're like, "You have to go in the girls' bathroom and get this girl out." And I was like, "What are you talking about? I'm not going in there to get a girl out." Literally, the girl and her boyfriend were having sex, and they're like, "We can't go in there because it was security, and they were all men." And they're like, "You have to go in." And I was like, "Hell no, I'm not going in there." And the girl was literally like, "Well, I'm not done yet. I'll come out when I'm done." Oh.
All right.
Okay. Like, what do I do with that?
Yeah.
So it was always interesting, but I really had the best time there. And the majority of the kids that I still talk to this day are from that school, because you really took them on as like, they became family, some of them. You know? And like I've been to weddings, I've been to, different things with them, and I loved it there in the end.
Is that where like you first met like Chris, Ryan,
Jerome, all of them? Yeah.
So that's like where that all started.
Big football school.
Were they all like in a close year?
Chris is behind them by 2 or 3 years.
So he was like a freshman when they were like juniors.
Yeah. So Ryan and Jerome were seniors when I got there. So Ryan was committed at that point to the University of Florida. That's how I ended up like talking to him a lot. And then he ended up at Ohio State, which again, very weird and ironic.
Very questionable.
But that whole football team, I kind of took them all on, to make sure. Ryan was fine, like graduation wise, and he graduated early and whatever. But some of the other ones were pretty rough because it was such like they knew sports could get them out, but no one bothered to tell them, but you have to have the grades. And so that was like a big.
Did you start working with them like early on, or was it kind of towards later? Like,
no, it was
so
like right
freshman year, you kind of met them. And
Ryan was a senior when I got there.
Oh, okay.
He was already committed.
Okay.
So that first group, they were seniors. The rest of them I had a little bit more time with. But I've stayed close with them all. From that little pod.
Was it like Was it kind of they came to you like looking for help, or was it just kind of natural?
Really, it was a football coach. Like I had gone to talk to him, and that's kind of where it started with me saying, "Great, you have all these phenomenal athletes that are being recruited,
they can't get out,
but they cannot get out because they will not qualify." And again, like I said, Ryan was in a different situation because he was graduating early and had the grades and real supportive family and the whole thing.
Yep.
Some of the other kids didn't have that, or they didn't realize, like the parents were real supportive of get them out and get them into football.
Yeah.
But again, school was not the priority. And I was like, cool, you can't have both. Like,
yeah.
I mean, you can't have one without the other. You have to have both.
We at least got to take care of this somewhat to where we can.
Yeah.
Can't just dismiss it all the way.
Yeah. And I think that's why after the fact, when some of them got out of school, they reached back out because they were like, I wouldn't have graduated. And I'm like, no, you wouldn't have, because no one bothered to pay attention to the both.
Yeah.
And that's why I think I still talk to a lot of them.
Yeah.
They're like, you changed the trajectory. And I'm like, I may have put you on a path, but you did it.
It took your effort to do it.
Yeah.
What was, Chris is the one that I've met. And,
yes.
What was meeting him like?
Chris was a pain in the butt. Love him to pieces, but he came from a real rough background. So he didn't have parents. They died a few weeks apart when he was in middle school. And he was raised by his sister. And they died very unexpectedly. One had kidney failure and another had brain aneurysm. And they literally were like 3 weeks apart. Something very, very, he was young. So he was real angry. And really
just hated the world.
But like the friendliest kid too, so it was like very weird. He could flip on a dime. School again was not easy for him. So same thing through the coaches, they were like, we got another one for you. And it was kind of a lot of finessing with teachers and a lot of finessing with him and stop getting in trouble and stop fighting and I need you to do this. And then when recruiters come around, a lot of people think they just look at film and they just talk to coaches, but they don't. They came and talked to us too. And so I'd have to be like, yep, his discipline record's a little difficult, but here's the why. Here's what's going on. Here's what we're working on. Here's what's better than it used to be, kind of thing. So
you're really pitching him or pitching all the kids you have
to get them somewhere, to get out of this environment. Because I knew if they stayed and stayed where they were, it was not going to get better.
Yeah.
It was not.
It was probably downhill.
So. Yeah. Like I remember taking Keely once. We had to take an ACT book to Chris's house. And I drove at the time a blacked out Suburban. And so when we got there, she was like, can we get out? And I was like, hang on. So I texted Chris. I'm like, hey, I need you to come out. So he came out and he had to literally tell people, don't touch their car. Cool. They're coming in with me.
So you're not on
leave them alone.
Leave.
Yeah, kind of thing. And that's kind of what they came from. And so it was like I have to get these kids out of here. One of the boys I remember was going to a small school up in New York, and he came on campus one day with his dad. Like they were losing their minds because someone had left campus, broken into their house, and like stolen TVs, stolen all this stuff, whatever. And it was like a cool, I know you're mad, I know you know who it is, but I need you not to react because you're leaving to go to Stony Brook. Yeah. And if you mess that up, you're not leaving to go to Stony Brook.
Over.
Yeah, and you'll be in this.
Yeah.
And so he left and went and played football at Stony Brook in New York, and then he came back, and now he owns a clothing line that he's still in that same area, but he has a brick and mortar store, and he sells his clothing line. That may not have happened had he stayed.
If he doesn't get out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was constantly juggling those kids. And so kind of going back to Chris, it was we just have to get him to qualify. Because at the time he didn't, but he had big offers. I mean, he was also committed to Florida. He had South Carolina coming in hard. He had other schools coming in hard. And I was like, but you have to qualify. And so we got him to qualify very last minute because they questioned his ACT scores. So the NCAA came in and had to test him independently by himself.
Yeah.
And it was like 1 week before he had to be at South Carolina because by then he had decommitted from Florida, which both boys decommitted from Florida, and I was very mad at them, but it's okay. It's fine. But, the one cool thing about him was when he decommitted, Steve Spurrier was now at South Carolina.
Yeah.
And so Chris came to my door once and was like, hey, we got to leave. And I was like, what are you talking about? We have to leave. And he's like, you have to come to my house right now. I was like, you're a student. I can't come to your house. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, Steve Spurrier's coming today. And I was like, bye-bye, we're out of here. Like, let's go. And
let's go over there.
Went to my principal and I was like, I gotta go meet Steve Spurrier,
yeah.
you know? And so he ended up qualifying in South Carolina, and then he went to the NFL and all the things that have happened since. And I still stay in touch with his sister and
talk to him.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's the cool part. Was Chris like just the athlete like immediately off the like they just saw it?
He's an athlete. Yeah.
I kind of figured that.
Yeah. He played both sides. He was our quarterback in high school, which he's not a quarterback, but he played both sides, and so he was just a true athlete.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a good kid. He was just paying the butt.
Yeah. How many kids did you have that went to school somewhere? Like, so I would imagine
quite a few went to college.
Yeah.
Not all made it to NFL.
Well, yeah. But at least got to college.
Mm-hmm. Several. Some, like I said, smaller schools. Stony Brook is not exactly a big school.
Yeah, but it doesn't necessarily matter.
But I got them out.
Yeah.
There were quite a few like that. We did have one from that group that went to Syracuse. We had NC State. We had Wisconsin, Ohio State, South Carolina. So there were some bigger schools. And I said, kind of people never talk about what happens when you don't get into the NFL.
I think that's probably a hard transition.
Yeah. So like Jerome was Ryan's best friend, who obviously made it in the NFL pretty big.
Yeah.
And then Jerome went to Prairie View in Texas, and that kind of dream died there. He was great at Prairie View, but going to all the combines and all the camps and all the thing, it just didn't happen. But then he became a trainer for NFL players, and different things. So they all had doors open to them wherever they went.
Yeah. That probably wouldn't get open otherwise.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of more the success story than like the going to the NFL.
But it's short lived.
Very, but you got to try to make it a 5-year or 10-year gap or whatever.
And it's a business. I mean,
it's
very
much so.
Business.
You're gonna get cut and dropped and picked up and moved around. Versus the coming back and making your clothing line and that's
having your business,
having your own thing started where that door would have never been open if you don't leave and go do it. It is probably hard for them when it's like, I'm not playing football or whatever sport it is.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not going to be a pro athlete when you've already made it through high school and college and you're doing well.
Yeah. And then I was over.
Yeah. And then it's like, all right, now I have to transition. But yeah, it's interesting how many kids came out of there.
It was a big school for that. And so leaving there was hard for me.
Is it still like that? That is like the.
I know they are to an extent. I don't know, because I don't pay as much attention anymore. But I know these kids go back and like do camps and stuff with the school, so they're still kind of helping that. Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
Like actually give back to the
where they came from and give back. They're all pretty big on that. Yeah,
that's great. So you're there for how many years?
I want to say I was there for 4.
4? All right.
And then came the chaos. And so we moved to South Carolina in 2014. Which ironically is the same time Chris went to University of South Carolina. So he was up here too.
Yeah.
And so we kind of continued with him. But so we moved up here then.
And then there you go to Northwest.
I went to Northwest NCR High as an IB coordinator. Did not have a clue what that was.
That's also a difference from going from Florida to now.
Little town.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very little town.
CR at that time probably had 1,000-ish people.
It was a huge difference.
So you're going from a highly
populated,
highly chaotic place to now
country.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I mean, really, kind
of. Yeah, that's what it is. It's small town country. So not nearly the same.
That was a big adjustment.
Yeah.
I think it was a good adjustment. It just took some time to get used to.
Yeah. What was kind of the first, what was the first, impression of,
You gotta be kidding me.
Yeah.
I just remember being like, what did I just do? The kids and I left Florida very quickly.
Yeah.
Within a 3-week span of putting the house for sale, packing the house, getting to TR, finding a place to live while we were building a house, all happened in such a short time. I knew it was better for them to leave where we had been. And I knew it was going to be hard because they were leaving everything they had. They've,
Mm-hmm.
you know, family we left, friends we left, and we were completely starting over.
Yeah.
And not necessarily by choice. I mean, to an extent it was because we didn't have to, but it was for the better.
Yeah.
And I knew that was going to be so, so hard, and I hated that for them.
Yeah.
You know, Zach going to elementary, and it was the first time he was in a school where we didn't have someone like, you know, Andrea was always at school with them, and Keely got to come with me because I was at her middle school, so at least she had me, but he didn't, and that was hard.
A colleague or friend or
I didn't have anybody, no.
Yeah.
So that was hard, but I think overall, I think it was so the right move. But it was not easy transition.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'd be very difficult to be like, all right, let's up en route to, you know, even the other way. Let's go to Florida now from being here. It's like there's just not many similarities.
No.
There's not really, especially, I mean, you don't know anyone as an adult, as a kid. It's a tough move.
We did have a family that I had gone to high school with that we built our house behind theirs, and their whole family was up here, so they kind of embraced us from the rip. So like, people that yeah. So at least we had like support.
Yeah.
But it was still like.
Isn't that crazy how that works out?
Yeah.
You know, you decide to move to a small town.
And well, they're the ones who called me, and they were like, "Hey, we know you kind of need to leave where you are.
Yeah.
There's a lot behind us for sale.
Yeah.
She worked in a school, and she was like, I can help you get in."
They're a very cool family as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they were like, "Come on in."
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's just wild that you went to high school. Like,
yeah. I went to prom with him.
Yeah.
And she was in my friend group. We played volleyball together. It was very random.
Yeah. Weird. Like who would have thought?
Like that's where we'd end up. Yeah. But we did.
Yeah. The one story I think about going back to like Chris is Keely talks about getting to like walk around like school with him and like getting to hang out and how cool it was for her to be like everyone knows him.
Yeah.
I think that's fun. That like how much that got to be like part of her
growing up. Yeah.
So yeah, back to Northwest. What were the day-to-day interactions like there, or at Northwest TR, I guess? Or how long were you at TR? Because when I was at TR, you were not there.
No, after her freshman year, I think.
You went to just Northwest?
Just to Northwest at that point. So when I was an IB coordinator, it was very like lonely, I guess, because I was the only one at both schools. No one really knew what to do with me. I didn't really know what I was doing. No one really cared what I was doing, which I think at the time I was kind of like, what do I do? But it was also pretty great because it was real helpful when you're building a house and trying to adjust to a new place. And so you had a lot of free time, which was kind of nice. So the first 2 years I kind of don't even count because it was almost like just trying to readjust.
Just show up.
And just show up, and they were nice to me, you know, but no one really knew what to do with me. And then after those 2 years, the middle school, which was a whole new experience for me, needed a director, and they're like, well, you've been here for 2 years, kind of in and out, you know, like, come on in kind of thing. And I was like, middle school? Like, I don't know how I feel about that. But, you know, it was super convenient because it was so close to the house. It was very close to Zach's elementary school. I knew he'd be coming there. So I was like, if I'm there, and she was already established at the high school, she didn't necessarily need me as much. So it worked out. It was a whole different experience dealing with younger people who I did not realize, you know, when people would talk about how middle school is so awful and it's the worst time of school and kids are they're definitely crazy in a very different way. But I actually ended up having like a pretty good time there. You know, I really did. I didn't mind leaving when I left. I meant, you know, anytime you leave a school, you leave a sense of family and a sense of like, these people become who you're with all the time. So it's always difficult.
Well, it's kind of you know, same thing as leaving like any job. It's just that we've kind of bonded over the problems and the successes and the time together. And you're talking to them, you know, 5 days a week.
Right. I mean, you're with them
you just
the bulk of your waking time.
Yeah. So I guess I can see that being.
But I was ready when I left there.
Yeah, that's also imaginable.
Yeah.
Was it kind of just like a slower pace? Like that was also like, all right, this is not really like.
It was a lot slower, different problems. You know, there's a big difference between like living in the projects poor and then country poor. They're very, very different.
Yeah.
So that was an adjustment because I was like, oh, I can handle poverty. No, it was a different poverty. And that took some time. You know, we grew up where, you know, yes, there was violence, yes, there were guns, yes, there were those things, but it was almost like a very different, like, hunting was not a thing. So I was like, wait, what? I'm sorry, you do what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I didn't get that. So it was really just learning a country way of life versus a city that was so vastly different.
Yeah.
And you know, I went from a culture melting pot to not one.
Yeah, I think that would be the other thing.
Yeah, huge adjustment again.
Yeah.
And you know, that was one of the hard things about taking the kids away is because I think they lost some of that, you know, where they still have that exposure, but I do wish they had had a little bit more of that, you know, just because. Like Zach, for example, was in a preschool that was bilingual. So when he was itty bitty, he'd come home and be speaking Spanish, and we didn't know what the heck he was talking about, but he did. Yeah. And then he kind of lost some of that up here because you don't use it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's an interesting. Yeah, I mean it's
a whole different life.
To the balance. I feel like anyone really probably got the most out of it.
Yeah.
Definitely, it's like probably didn't know what was going on.
No,
but
now he gets it.
Now he understands, but it's not really. I think Keely got to see probably. To actually like being impacted by it, like growing up, versus like just being there. Just like a big difference.
Big difference.
Of like recognizing what's going on. Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be tough though to put like Florida high school to me is like I would not want to like send my kids there, but I don't disagree that like the diversity aspect of it and the like cultural aspect of it.
But it was funny to watch like the people she had been friends with as they progressed through middle school and high school. I was so glad I took her out because they were in a completely different mentality and like the fast of that. I don't know how to explain it. Like, you know, she would go to homecomings and they'd be in like Lily Pulitzer dresses. Yeah. Then you'd see pictures of the girls in South Florida, and I was like, they're not even wearing clothes. Yeah. Like, you know, so it was. I'm glad she wasn't down there for all that.
The fast-paced life of it is
totally different.
Yeah, that's kind of that's part of mine. Is the problem?
Yeah, very, very different.
Dealing with that.
Kids are kids. Like that's the one thing I can say consistently across all my various demographics, financial parts of the schools, all those kind of things. Kids are kids, but there's some unique problems that come with your environment. You know, and so I'm glad that she wasn't part of some of that environment.
Yeah. I think it's also interesting because, like, here she played softball, which is not really like a diverse sport. Like,
correct.
I mean, you probably, you know, like 90% white team or whatnot. Like, might have a couple people mixed in throughout. Versus, like, my experience with it of, like, I was talking to, like, Philip last week, who, you know, Philip Brown, Sam Brown's big brother.
Okay.
And we were talking about, like, how through sports, that was the biggest aspect for, like, us here, as someone that grew up here, that, like, having that, because you went and played, and you go play in, you know, the ghetto. Like, you're going, that's where you, you want to play, you go there. And that's the same thing that, like, I went through, of, like, I didn't meet people really through school that were, like, there wasn't a difference there.
Right.
But when you go and, you know, you go to practice a couple times a week, and you go play games, you go play pickup, that's where you're experiencing, like, the
differences.
Yeah, and that to me is, like, a much better way of doing it than, like, having, you know, go to school in Florida, where it's just, like...
madness.
Like, yes, diversity, great, that's amazing, but you're dealing with a lot of other factors that you don't have really in, like, a TR. Like,
right.
You don't have, like, as big of problems in a TR high school as you would down like Plantation.
Yeah, Plantation was a whole different ballgame.
Like
the high school she would have gone to, would not have been like a Plantation, but the groups, it's funny, like, when you see those stereotypical, like, movies, shows, whatever, where it's like, oh, this is where the band geeks sit, and this is where the theater it was very like that. Like, if you were in a normal kind of high school, where it was very, very cliquey. And so I don't know that it would have been as chaotic and crazy as Plantation would have been, but the exposure to things,
it's more the exposure
so
aspect.
Yeah.
What you're getting exposed to is much more different. And that's not to say like you don't have exposure in any high school, but the like, fast paced is just the easiest.
It's the best way to put it. Yeah.
It's just.
And when you combine money with it, that's a whole nother ballgame of things that I wouldn't have wanted her involved in.
Yeah. So
it worked out.
It worked out.
Yeah.
After Northwest, you go. Well, near the end of Northwest, you meet Chris.
Yes.
And y'all start looking at moving to out in the middle of nowhere, really.
Correct.
What was that kind of like of phasing into like a new? Because you have Keely going to college, like you're entering a new phase of your life, kind of.
So.
What was kind of dealing with?
I met him right when she met you.
Yeah.
Within a month of each other. When their dad and I were done, I was very adamant that I was never getting remarried, never doing this again. I was good. I had my kids. Life was happy. I am independent. I don't need to do this. I don't want to do this kind of thing. I met him, and that kind of flipped on a dime very quickly. Our first date was like 5.5 hours. I mean, where it was just really good, honestly, conversation. And I still didn't really take it serious. Like, I was kind of like, okay, like, that was great conversation, and I'm sure we'll go out again, but, whatever. We saw things very similarly on a lot of issues. So I was like, that'll be fun. Did not anticipate, like, I didn't anticipate it going where it went so quickly. So, like, we met in November, and then by that New Year's Eve, I had introduced him to the kids, which was so not something that had ever been planned. Like, I never was going to introduce them to someone unless I thought they were significant. So that's how quickly that happened. So once him and I got married, like you said, she was a senior. No, she was not. We met when she was a senior. When him and I got married, she was a freshman in college. I think him being there when she left was good for me because, again, her and I are so super close. And yes, I had Zach, and him and I are super close too, but that gap was almost filled by him. You know what I mean? It was like there was still a presence. Not a presence like her, because Keely is a presence. There's no one like her. But I think it helped, So then we got married, and it was kind of like that was my house. That was where the kids and I built that together, and like saved ourselves there. And not that there wasn't room for him, but we were such a presence in that house that it was like he was coming into something that was never going to be
kind of yours.
Yeah.
It was more going to be like.
It was always going to be mine, And so that's kind of where we started talking about building something of our own, which started as a joke and then kind of took on a life of its own. And he found this property that, again, like you said, middle of nowhere, still not my favorite place, but, real low taxes. So that was good. And so we ended up moving to the middle of nowhere. And that was, again, I worried about Zach because, he had to start over and be in a different high school that was real weird and tiny, tiny, tiny. Again, I think everything happens for a reason. And he was at school with me, and so I was able to kind of steer his trajectory a little bit and open some doors for him. That got him to where he's supposed to be. But it's very country.
Yeah, I mean, it worked out in the end.
Yeah.
So he got to go to where he wanted to.
Yeah, got to be valedictorian, got to do all the things.
Yeah, so I mean, it worked out pretty well.
It did.
So you kind of go through that, and it's not really like You're there for like 4 years, 3.
At Blacksburg?
Yeah.
4,
4.
5.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And now you kind of moved on to like this semi-retirement.
Yeah.
How's that like? What's that like?
So the kids had enough, and so had Chris and me being in a school. When you start hearing about school shooting. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, can we go? Yeah, I think that's an important part to touch on. Past 10 years, in my perspective, have been an evolution, not really an evolution, like a downgrade of what's going on in schools. Of the kids are dealing with the social threats of having gun threats and whatnot. To where it's not, I don't know what but 2016 is kind of when I finally, like, brain's turning on a little bit, so that's my only reference point. But from your perspective, is that kind of how?
Yeah, I mean, we went from Columbine had happened, before I was even in schools.
Yeah.
But it wasn't something like you really thought about. You know what I mean? Even when I was at Plantation, where kids did have guns in the car and crazy machetes and just different things, you just didn't think about someone coming in and shooting up the school. It wasn't so prevalent. Yeah. It would happen, but it would be like, oh, it was like this little school somewhere else. Like, it was never going to be common. So honestly, I know people hate to talk about COVID, and I'm in agreement. I don't think COVID was the catalyst. I think COVID allowed people.
COVID was just kind of the trigger.
Yeah, it allowed it. On the fire. Yeah. So the kids, you can blame it on phones, you can blame it on COVID, you can blame it on all these things, but it was like they lost their ability to be social.
I think social media is also another huge part of that didn't mention.
Huge part of it. Snapchat, huge.
Yeah, Snapchat, Instagram, they're becoming popular.
Very popular.
Kind of like in my high school, so 2016, 2020, it was like that's when you start getting someone posted on Snapchat that like they're gonna go shoot somewhere, like a bomb threat, and you have all that's when it starts becoming like a problem.
Yeah.
And it's just a constant feeding of
And because you guys had Snapchat and that filters into schools and things disappear after people post it, then they were like they could say whatever they wanted.
Yeah.
And so where people kind of tended to be a little quieter, or they would just talk crap behind people's backs, or whatever. Now all of a sudden it was out.
Yeah.
And so the hostility there was always like a low level of tension, or like you said, you get a vibe some places and whatever. So when you're in a place where kids are used to guns, they go hunting, they're all the things, and so like you said, they're posting. They want to shoot something up. They want to kill somebody. And so when you start going from talking to kids about how to be NCAA eligible and how to go to college and all these things to now it's like a constant threat assessment. Like you're in these hours-long threat assessments with kids and parents who don't want to acknowledge it. And my kid wouldn't do that, and you're wrong, and you know what I mean? And so it becomes very, very taxing. And then while you have these kids that are just blindly making threats, you have the kids that now are like
could be semi-serious,
some pretty serious. I've dealt with things where we get a file on a kid and you have to take them because they're a school age kid and they have a file this thick and it's all like crazy threats to people and things that they would say that I was like, what the heck? It's like being in an episode of like
CSI.
Yeah.
Like, why am I?
Yeah, why am I doing this? This isn't what I signed on for. This is not. And it, again, I love me some bad kids, but that's not what this was.
This isn't like helping you get out of, like, this isn't helping you go to your next step or go on to whatever it is you want to pursue.
No, this is crazy training.
This is more, pretty close to like the mental hospital.
Yeah.
Anything else.
Kids that, cutting became so much more of a prevalent thing, and with like just kids just all cut up burning themselves. I like you said, it became more mental health, and I was like, I don't want to do this. And like when I started to realize I was having conversations with Zach and with Bryson and just different kids where I was like, what's your plan? Because like schools have plans and they have like the drills of the shooter and all these kind of things, but we all know it's not going to play out like that if it happens. And so when I'm literally talking to these boys and saying, you have to run. Like, you have to get out of the school. You don't just sit like a duck in this corner. Yeah, we're not doing that. And I'm like, the fact that I had to have these conversations that I never even had to have with Keely 5 years prior, there's something wrong. Like, I don't want to be here anymore.
Well, that's like the shooting drills that you go through.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, like, to me, it's always the stupidest thing to have a shooting drill. Because it's like, all right, the kid that's most likely to shoot at school probably has gone through the shooting drill. Like, just tossing around the ideas here. But, like, they might understand if the classroom's dark and the door's locked, but there's a whole class in there. Like, just tossing around the ball here, but.
Yeah, and all they have to do is shoot the lock. Like, it didn't make sense to me.
Yeah. Well, you have glass on both sides. It's like, what the hell is this going to do? Like, I mean,
yeah. And I think, by then Parkland had happened, and that was very, very familiar to us because we, we didn't live far from there. I had been to that school multiple times for, just different trainings or different things. And that was so personal to know that my friends' kids were there, and I think that really kind of started my trajectory of I can't do this beyond Zach. Like, I was always going to stick it out for him, but I'm going to have to do something else. And I think meeting Chris helped with that. I think the kids constantly telling me to get out. But when Zach left to go to school, the plan was to leave. But then I was like, hold on. Now I'm an empty nester.
Yeah.
Both my kids are in different phases. Keely had graduated college by that point. He's 8 hours away. I don't know that I can make such a big shift yet.
That where, like, I can just pick up and go.
No. So that last year, I had tons of days saved up, so I never worked a full week really for 2 years. I just took a lot of time off and used up my time.
Just kind of it out. Just kind of
I would say quietly quit, but I really kind of was loud about my quiet quitting.
Really said you were quitting after that year.
Yeah.
Do you think that's pretty hold true though for the kids aspect that like you saw it through like your career of working in schools of like kind of progression of like problems?
I think it's not the same environment it was. And I don't know that it'll ever be fixed. And I think kids saw that. My kids saw it, through a different lens than kids that are in it because they would hear my stories.
Yeah.
And I think that kids are in it now. When I first started, there wasn't a lot of like early graduation. There wasn't a lot of, I want to get out in 3 years or I want to get out in December. And now the amount of that is exponentially higher because kids just don't want to do this anymore. Like the system is broken. And I don't think that I'm equipped to be in the people that fix it.
But I think it's just interesting for how long it's been like talked about of like there's a problem here. And then you go into the COVID year and you just see like the outside of like I'm not my personal experience on that, but like to me it's like the kids that like come out now there's just such like it's kind of a disconnect.
Yes.
Of like I don't feel that different from talking to anyone like 5 years before me, but like talking to someone after me is like I don't know what to connect with you on.
Yeah.
Like and I don't know. I don't know how you fix it.
I don't either.
It's the most interesting problem.
It is an interesting problem, and now that I work in online for the most part, to see how much that's growing, even in the short time I've been there, the enrollment, kids just don't want to be in schools. Yeah. And that's going to cause me a bigger problem because then you run into funding issues and, you're taking money out of schools because you don't have the bodies in the schools and everybody just wants to be at home. Well, the problem with being at home, I don't know if you're okay at home. I just can see if you're logging on.
Well, not only that, I mean, it's also like, are you actually learning any of the things that we're talking about? Are we actually doing any of this work?
Right.
Like, I mean, and it's like you can put on whatever anti-cheat things you want to, but kids are going to find some way to get around the system.
Absolutely.
That is like the one thing that's consistent across every generation. It's going to look for the gap.
Right.
But yeah, the other thing is I think co-op and like homeschooling is such like now a more socially acceptable thing that it's like why would I not go do this where my kid gets to interact in a safe space, gets to have more. You can have a broader range of experiences. It kind of depends on what you're doing or whatever.
But you could, yeah.
But you can have, maybe you go learn about farm life or whatever.
By farming.
Yeah. You get to do much more things that you would in a public school, but you're also not dealing with, I don't want to say psycho, but you're not dealing with.
But you're not.
You're not dealing with, like, the problems. You get to get out. And
you don't have to do a fire drill. You don't have to do a shooter drill.
Yeah. I think that's just much more. You need some more water?
No, it's in there. I don't know what my problem is.
Yeah, I don't know. I just see that being the more. But then you do run into the problem of what do you do now with all these schools that you've built and have put funding in.
And if the people who are at home aren't socializing, what do you do with those kids?
Yeah.
And like you said, are they really learning anything? I don't know.
I
I really don't know.
I don't know. There's no way for me to really check.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, that's.
So I'm very glad my own kids are out of it, and so I feel for you guys who are at some point, your friends group and all that having kids. Mm-hmm. What do you do?
That is going to be the question of what do you do with.
Yeah, what's the best solution?
And it's kind of like, well, hopefully, in 10 years, or whatever the time frame, when it would be like school age, it would be like something is in motion, working.
To be better. Because there is a good element of being in a school.
There's a great thing about being in a public school.
But then there's also not.
But there's some major negatives to it. The great thing is that, the amount of interactions you get, you would never get anywhere else.
Right.
Co-op, maybe. But the range of people, I would say, is going to be different in public school. Just who you're interacting with. But the social aspects that you also run into are very much a problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very much not great for a kid to be running into.
Like I never, when they were little, it's not like I ever sent her to school and was worried she wouldn't come home.
Yeah.
That didn't happen. And I'm not saying it's every day that people are like, oh my God, my kid's going to get shot up.
But every other week you have a school shooting.
Yeah. I mean, and now they're so common you don't even think about it. You hear on the news and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's whatever.
It happened.
I don't know, there's quite a few, per year. There's way more than you'd think. I thought it was near 100, where it's almost every day. Yeah. There's something to some degree. Not all of them are well, it really shouldn't even be not all of them are big because they're all a problem. But it's
unless there's a bajillion people you don't
hear about it.
Anymore.
Yeah. It's not even going to make the front headline.
No, which is terrible.
That's the desensitized to it. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
It was time. It was time.
It was time. So now you've moved to the more online role, and how do you think that's going to be kind of your next thing for a couple of years?
I think it will be for a little while. I do that, and then I also work with our community college to do dual enrollment stuff, so at least I still have interaction with kids and people. I think it will last for some time.
But just kind of see where life takes you.
Yeah, kind of. Chris likes to make changes a lot and change the game and, picks things like let's go to Portugal for a month and see what happens. You know what I mean? So because we're in that stage where we can, we'll see. But it's nice that I can work anywhere.
That's a fun part of this time.
Yeah.
The time and place we live in now, where you're in this stage of life and you have the technology now present to do things like that. If I want to work in Portugal for a month, I can.
Yeah. And nobody cares.
No one really can, tell me not to.
Yeah. I mean, either I do or I don't.
Yeah.
But, so that I think is very cool.
That's fun.
And if someone wants to pay me to do that, sure.
Yeah, might as well. It's not very, why not?
Yeah.
You still have the rest of the time there. Spend the 6-8 hours a day or doing
whatever.
And then it's all right. That's fun. Talk about something fun to end with. I'm talking about college football for the.
Okay, yeah.
Carter Vickers, I had him on a couple days ago, and we were talking about it. But fun fact, you mentioned having dip night at your house, so I thought I'd bring that up. If you really enjoyed that.
Oh my God, that's hysterical.
But we talked about football as well, and he thought Miami was going to be up there.
Oh,
I lost last night. Yeah, unfortunately. So glad we can talk about that. No offense to Miami, but not a fan.
I'm not at all. I was pretty happy they lost.
Yeah. What do you think of Florida?
So I'm a crazy Gator.
Interesting year.
Interesting last couple,
Yeah.
if we're being honest.
Yeah.
I grew up in the time where we were so good all the time, and that we expected to be so good, and so when we're not, I'm really kind of like, when we're not, you know. And then so when they fired Dan Mullen and hired Sunbelt Billy, I was livid because I was like, why would you bring in this no name, no conference nonsense? And then he talked, and I was like, oh, no. No. And clearly his track record has proven he sucks. I've never been on Team Billy.
Yeah.
Never thought he was capable, so I'm super ready for him to be fired. Cannot wait. I hate the instability of the school.
Yeah. He's been like just good enough to where it'd be really hard to like fire him like James Franklin.
Yeah.
Got like just cut.
Which is also crazy.
I think it's crazy to cut any coach in the middle of the season.
Yes.
Just like, why would you do that? But he was like 1-20 against top AP teams or something like to that degree, where it's like he's not good enough in the big games that like you want him.
It's such a bad thing though, because he's always ranked. He starts ranked. You know what I mean? Because
it's Penn State and Ohio State who play like,
and he could never beat them.
And you can't beat the big teams in their conference. Mm-hmm. I don't want to just like absolutely slander the Big Ten for like being awful, but for a long time you had Illinois, Wisconsin, Nebraska, like Iowa. Okay, these last couple of years they're turning into respectable.
But you're right.
But like for a long stretch there, it's like if you don't win those games, they suck. It's not much difference. No offense to the ACC as well, but it's like you should beat a Boston College every time.
Yes.
Like it's or like 10-win season's great. But
you gotta beat those big ones.
If 8 of those games were no one, like
they don't count.
Like, okay, I mean it's great and all, but what are you doing either in the postseason or when you're playing the big games? So but you played. Who'd you play? You played Miami really close, but now Miami's lost. So who knows what they'll do?
Yeah, but then they whooped up on us because our coaching is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
It's terrible. Like even last night, we should have lost.
Yeah.
Even though we controlled the game the whole time. But he cannot handle clock management at all.
Yeah, he's really bad about it.
Really bad play caller. And the only reason we won is because Mississippi State got greedy, and that coach didn't manage it well and wanted to score instead of all you had to do is kick field goal. It was over. You could have given us 2 minutes. We were not going to go down and score again. It was not going to happen.
Yeah.
He should have kicked the field goal and been done with it.
Yeah.
But he got greedy, wanted to score, and so we won.
Yeah.
But we didn't win because our coaching was good.
Because it was so stellar.
No.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of like an anticlimactic win where I was like, okay, I'm glad for the players they get a win because they need that morale. Yeah. But at the same time, the coaching was still terrible.
Well, it's also like the same thing that I wonder about our coaching is like the quarterback play is so questionable. Like you have this highly scouted recruit, or I don't think he was a recruit, but he was coming in as like a high prospect. He should do very well. Then you get to game time, and his one game throws 5 interceptions.
Yes.
He plays okay in a couple of them. He's not living up to his name.
No.
I don't want to say like either of them are just like terrible, should be written off, but definitely not living up to what you would think for what's being talked about them or for a big program.
Like, well, even yesterday, I was like, there's like, 2 interceptions in this game.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and they're right too. They're
like not even close.
No, like you can't even blame that on coaching so much.
Yeah.
Because I get he has to do what the play is, but when you see the other jersey standing there, guess what you do? Not that.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
So it's frustrating. I tell people all the time, it's hard being a Gator. It is harder than people think because I'm so supportive and I love them so much, but dang, they take a lot out of me.
Yeah. Especially when it's just you're right on the cusp of like this team could go to a playoff berth, but it's like.
Will they?
Probably not. And it's like, they're going to drop too many games where it's like you need to win that one. So that's pretty interesting.
I just want him to go, though. He's got to go. I don't know who we'll get, but there's, so many rumors whenever your coach is leaving. But
yeah.
And you can tell, like, if you watch the interactions, like, especially with DJ Lagway, he does not like Philly.
Yeah.
Like, I thought for a long time, he's a great recruiter, and he is, because we have great
Somehow
talent.
he gets people there.
But then I think he made a statement, DJ Lackway did last week, about how he's just tired of losing. And I'm like, that's a shot. You know what I mean? And you can see like the interaction when he comes off the field. He does not look him in the eye. He does not. He looks over him. Like, there's a respect there lost. Well, probably because when you call the same stupid plays that don't ever work, and he has, you know. But yeah, college football will get you riled up. That's for sure.
I do think it's interesting. The like curious part of me would be like, how much is that now? Because like you have NIL money, and like so as a player, like I don't have to be like, I don't need you to go get me to the NFL to make money because
I'm already making it.
I'm making money now, and surely you know it's not always NFL money, but there are people that are making
probably
more than NFL money than other people.
Yeah.
So it's not like you can have like an Urban Meyer like Florida team where it's like, all right, we're working out at 1-8 or midnight.
They'll be like, why?
And it's like, why am I going to do that?
I don't have to.
I don't need to. I don't like.
That kind of goes back to how we were talking about schools, like the lack of discipline in kids now. You're right, because now they're entitled to this money, so they're like, you work for me.
If like, there's probably a fine line you have to dance around of. I can push you, but like, if I push you too hard, you could leave high school, and then I don't have a player, or just straight up they don't want to.
Yeah.
And like you've signed them, and I don't know how you're gonna cut their contract. And NIL is gonna be really fun when you start having like contract disputes and legal things hit it. When it finally hits the fan, it's probably really going to be hit the fan.
Yeah. It was almost like thrown out without a lot of thought
structure
behind it.
Put to it of like this is how it should work. This is who the money needs to get like funneled. Like there needs to be like terms, and to me it seems like one step above like brown paper bag money. It's like
all right, it is.
We have a verbal agreement, maybe, and maybe there's some like loose contract there, but I don't think it's like structured to like how the school has to really do it. It's like
no, it's the wild, wild west.
Yeah,
I mean it really is. And then you know they kind of adjust all the time because it's like whatever it was like last week or the week before, where it was earlier in the season, if your coach got fired, everyone could transfer right then.
Yeah.
Then it was, oh, just kidding, we made a mistake there. Now you have to wait until after the new coach is named, and you have to wait like 5 days or whatever it is.
Whatever.
Well, if you keep changing stuff all the time, there's no structure to that. And I think that's even with Clemson, why right now they're not good, is because Dabo doesn't play into that system.
Yeah.
But eventually he's going to get played out of not playing that system because kids are going to be like, hold up, I'm not going there because I want money. Well,
it's tough.
It's a mess.
I think Dabo's, I don't know how much Dabo's in it. I think NIL, they're fine. I think it's more the transfer portal. But like the one point he's made that like is pretty agreeable in my terms is that when you have kids that are transferring, they knew well before then where they were going, and technically you're not really supposed to be like it seems to be supposed to be more working like a free agency of where like you leave a team, you then open that period to come recruit that kid. But it's not happening that way.
No.
I can almost, without ever seeing behind the doors, it's not how it's happening. And so to his kind of point, you know, it's hard as like someone. I think he has a very good stance. He seems like, you know, very respectful guy. Never talked to him clearly, but like, I don't think he wants to go to that like I'm gonna go behind the doors and try to like sneak people over here.
And unfortunately,
everyone else is willing to do that to some degree. Maybe not directly. Maybe I'm sure it's through a friend of a friend goes and talks to them. And you know, like it's the game.
The shady doors.
Doors, but I don't. To me, it doesn't seem like he's willing to do that clearly because you don't have anyone coming there besides, I don't know, 5 players in like 5 years. Like 3 of them being like 4th string quarterbacks that we took, like not like not key players in the system. So I don't know. I mean, that's the tricky part of like there's not really an enforcement of like, oh, how did you decide to transfer?
Oh, it's just wide open.
Okay. All right, you know. Well, they paid me, you know, $3
I think
million.
that's why Nick Saban got out because he was like,
I think he was in the same boat,
and he was like, I'm not playing this game.
But to Saban's credit, I mean, he's pretty old. Like,
well, that too.
I think the Dabo's thing, it's like,
what else would he do?
What would I go do? And he's not bad. I think it's just
he's just not feeding the system
the
way it, because it's not the way he really started. That's not how the system was.
I think even with coaching, it's really hurt him. from him trying to keep like Clemson guys in the system because like he started out with like a Venables and they're often like their whole staff was like built up with him, but then you have Venables go leave and then you have everyone start to kind of bail ship and it turns into a he's trying to build the system again from like the ground and it's just not.
It's not working.
It takes too long to probably get to back to where you were, and you also don't have like a Trevor Lawrence come, and you don't have you don't have that guy that's just he's
the guy.
The guy.
Yeah.
Like so.
And teams always cycle.
You're going to,
but,
unfortunately.
But dang, some of it's rough.
But dang, it hurts.
It does.
It hurts to watch when it's just like serious. Texas has to be. I think they're hurting the most. Out of
because Arch Manning sucks, and they made it like he was this great thing, and I'm like, yeah,
they have
as an athlete,
it's unfortunate.
He's a great athlete.
Yeah.
He's not a quarterback.
I don't think he's the best quarterback ever.
He can't throw.
I think most of his problem, to me, it makes no sense now to go sit behind someone, which sounds terrible. But it's like, I think it would be much better to go play at a smaller school and actually go play. And like, all right, I played the whole season, and I've actually gotten live in-game reps versus
I'm just
sitting behind Quinn Ewers, who's good. I mean, clearly he took that Texas team pretty far. But Arch played in 3 games. Like,
and even when they talk about his high school career, cool. He played in these itty-bitty
leagues where he just dominated.
Yeah. I mean, it's not the same as coming into the SEC, for God's sake.
Yeah.
And he cannot throw. And I'm glad his family could,
but
he cannot. He's an athlete.
He's
like,
a good
I put him as
yeah. Pretty great.
Put him as a tight end.
Probably wouldn't be too bad. He'd be like a Tebow.
Right.
God, that was an impressive.
Yeah.
When you saw Tebow play tight end of the Jaguars for like a week, that was the biggest I've ever seen him ever. The pictures of him, he was massive.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. I didn't know he had that like in the back. I was like, that's wild. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how college sports develops. I think eventually you'll have a change of like leagues. I don't know how
I think so, and you can't like, one of my big complaints is, the SEC is clearly the best out there, but we all knock each other off. So even like, games like last night when you have, what was it, Georgia,
Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss.
Yeah, like you start cutting each other down because there's no one else we're forced to play everybody like that.
Yeah.
Whereas like in Ohio State plays like 2 big games, 3 big games, and everything else is a joke. And I'm not saying we should be a joke, but even Miami, who did Miami play? So they just got randomly beat, which was really funny. But the rest of their season, okay. Yeah.
You kind of get through it. You play like, they already played Florida, who would have been like their.
Should have been, but wasn't.
Yeah. Probably played Florida State, who now has crashed.
And Burned, which is great fun.
Yeah.
But then you also have like a Notre Dame who gets to do whatever they want.
Notre Dame has the most fun.
And then they always make it. And you're like, what? But because you didn't play anybody.
Yeah.
Maybe like 2, kind of same thing. And they pick and choose.
They play like 2 games, pretty much. Like, you'll have 2 games to the season. That's like, all right, you probably need to show up at those. But the other ones, it's like.
And then it's weird, like, how do you have, like, Stanford in the ACC? And you're like Atlantic Coast, but you're on the Pacific.
Yeah.
What?
Doesn't quite make sense.
No.
I think they'll probably just need to go to, like, regions.
Something. Because even, like, with us, how's Texas in the Southeast?
Yeah. Well, it's just
they're
like,
south, but
it's like
Oklahoma?
We're going to pay you a bunch of money to move to the SEC. Like, okay. I'll do it.
Yeah, sure.
It feels close to my arm.
Yeah.
I'll take the $2 billion package
why
of
not?
media rights. Yeah. Fine. Good time. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting. It's been interesting, and it'll continue to be more interesting. The best part is teams are actually like now not just most teams aren't terrible anymore. It seems that talent's gone like not terrible. They're just
the
not
record
great.
is terrible.
The
is what we'll
record's
say.
not
The team
great.
is not, but the record is bad.
Talent wise, it has seemed to actually like
leveled out a little bit.
Funnel kids. Who knows? Who knows what next?
Any given Saturday is what I usually say.
Yeah.
You just never know.
But it was so much more fun when you had like, a Temple team with absolutely no one just come upset like a top 25, and it's like, all right, well that team's probably not like terrible now.
It's even like how USF is kind of coming along and like beating. hello Florida, but
Yeah.
you know, beating other people too and being ranked, and you're like, but it's USF.
Yeah, like why are they good?
Yeah.
Like why are they not just a gimme game anymore?
Right.
But now it's like, okay, I can actually watch a couple of these games that aren't like, you know,
blowout.
I would probably not watch, but now it's kind of like, oh, they might keep it
close, keep it interesting.
Close, have a shot. Yeah. I don't know. See where it goes.
That's why we sit there on Saturdays.
Yeah. Respectful. Call it good. You got anything else going on? Anything? Okay. Well, I guess to the next 5 years then.
There we go. We'll see what happens next.
Yeah. All right. Well, fun. Come visit. Would ask her to come.
Yeah.
Come do it. I think it's also unique for like whenever. The main part is what I keep when people are like, oh, why did you do it? It's like I think when we have kids and like, I think it'll give them something more of like a record of seeing the people they know in their life that they maybe not ever talk about or they might not ever have the interaction with. And they'll at least see like my progression through life of working through to some degree.
Yeah.
Like you'll be able to see me at 23 moving, you know, for however long it keeps going. Or like otherwise you wouldn't hear.
You really wouldn't.
You wouldn't hear
like with your grandparents.
Yeah.
Like, what it would have been like if someone talked to them at.
I think that will be the next like. I want to do like my granddad to have him on. I like Mark to come back and talk about like his story from start because we talked about it one time, and then I learned some of the stuff about like the recording aspect of it. That like if the screen turns off, it just like it'll cut to where it's like just kind of iffy audio, and so there's like some of it, but it's not really. We talked for like a couple hours. We talked for like 4 or 5 hours, but it's just kind of like okay. It's not really great. But like his stuff was really interesting. Talking like through him seeing his grandparents of like going across the Oregon Trail and going like you live in a mud hut and you're getting shot at Indians to where like when they were I don't know when they were like moving on they lived in like a high rise near like the airport and you're seeing planes take off of when you started from your life in a hut that was like the grass
which is crazy.
I was like that is a really like the transitions that he like talked about from his family along of like these people had to go through this. I think that's pretty like I would have never talked to them about that otherwise.
No, you really wouldn't.
And we don't really ever I don't really think to. I think that's the
beauty of
the record of it of like being like my kid's probably not gonna like, you know, I don't think they're gonna sit down and talk about it. Like I just don't see that as like a likely, but at least it would be there so that they could
reference
it.
Yeah.
And that's for everyone that like kind of comes on here and talks like. As guys, I think it's also like I'm not gonna talk to you about like your life really. Like I'm not gonna casually.
It's not like you're just sitting around watching football talking about that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So.
And everyone has such stories that, you know, like even for me to have said in there that my graduation party was watched by the FBI, you're probably like, what the hell? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like there's everyone has like these weird elements that you would never see in a day to day. You know what I mean? Because you kind of move past some things or.
You don't think about them. You don't really like.
And like in my mind, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But where in you guys' mind, that maybe that formed part of who she is. You know what I mean? But to me, I'm like, I just went through it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting the like similarities between you and Keely. That like talking through your own life and now like her. And it's like that's interesting how like she. I don't want to say like took on, but did kind of similar paths
in some ways. Yeah.
Yeah, in some degree, like why things that like she acts how she does, like part of that. So it, I don't know,
I think that's helpful.
Yeah, I think it's just cool to hear about like. Yeah. Wouldn't know that otherwise. I'm like, why do you do that?
Right.
Why are you weird? It's like
because her mom
makes sense. Like that makes a connection now.
Yeah.